All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with part 2 of our video answers to the practice test. And we're on problem number 14. So, Movies R Us offers rentals for only $2.99 per DVD. However, you must become a member before you can rent a DVD. Membership costs $8. So, if Satali decides she will spend a maximum of $34 for the month, how many DVDs can she rent? So let's start with this. Okay, we're going to go through and we're going to circle our important numbers. So first of all, they're renting movies for $2.99 per DVD. They also have to pay a membership, which is $8. And she's going to spend a maximum of $34. So those look like some important numbers in this problem. So next part, we're going to look for some important words. First of all, per DVD. Per usually tells us that we are multiplying. So we're going to make a little note here that we're multiplying. You must become a member before you can rent a DVD. So membership is $8. Oh, she's going to spend a maximum. So that means she only wants to spend $34. She does not want to spend any more than that. And we're going to underline our question. How many DVDs can she rent? So let's start. I'm going to say that X is going to be my number of DVDs. So when we're looking at this, she's spending some money. And we're talking about $34. The money she spent, she wants to spend a maximum of $34 a month. So she can spend equal to 34, or the money she spent can be less than 34. So by writing it out in words first, that's going to help me figure out where to put the rest of my information. So let's start. She's spending $2.99 per DVD. So $2.99 times the number of DVDs, which is X. But she's also got to become a member, so we got to add on some more money here. She has to pay $8 to become a member. Then that's going to be less than or equal to $34 total. So now I'm just left with the inequality to solve. So in order to solve, I'm going to start and subtract my 8 from both sides. 8 minus 8 gives me 0. So on the left, I'm left with $2.99 times X is less than or equal to 34 minus 8, which is 26. I have a feeling I'm going to get a nasty decimal with this one, so let's see what happens. I'm going to divide both sides by 2.99, because that's what it was being multiplied by. Now, when I divide, I have 26 divided by 2.99. And that gives me 8.6956522174, and that keeps going. So on the left side, this cancels out. We get 1. So over here, we're not going to write the whole thing. We'll go with our 8.6957. Now, when we talk about DVDs, we're not going to talk about decimals. We won't have parts of DVDs. So really, if we just look at the whole number, we can't round up because she won't have enough money. So we're really looking here. The number of DVDs she can rent is going to be 8 or less. She's not going to be able to rent any more than 8 because she can't rent part of a DVD. So she can rent 8 DVDs or less. Okay, and that doesn't include the decimals. It doesn't include negatives. She could rent 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 DVDs. Those are all her options. All right, well now we're back to graphing. So we're being asked to solve this inequality. 2x minus 5 is greater than 7. And then to graph our solution. So in order to solve this, I need to start with adding and subtracting. The first thing I see here is minus 5. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Negative 5 plus 5 gives me 0. So I have 2x is greater than 7 plus 5, which is 12. I'm going to now divide both sides by 2, because that's the opposite of multiplying by 2. And 2 divided by 2 gives us 1. So I'm left with x is greater than 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Now, there's no equal to part, so that tells me I'm going to have an open circle. If there was an equal to, we'd have a closed circle because that point works as well. So this says x is greater than 6. The only two that are on 6 are b and d. A and C are both on 1, so those won't be possible answer choices for us. We can go ahead and eliminate those. Now, since it says x is greater than 6, all the numbers that are greater than 6 include numbers like 7 and 8. They're all to the right. So our answer for this problem is going to be D. Now, number 16 is another solving an inequality, and it looks like a simple problem. However, this one has a little bit of a trick. So in this problem, I have negative 2n is less than or equal to 6. This is negative 2 times n. The opposite of multiplying by negative 2 is dividing by negative 2. Now, negative 2 divided by negative 2 gives us 1. So I have n. And 6 divided by negative 2 gives us negative 3. Now, we can't forget, whenever we multiply or divide by a negative in an inequality, we have to flip our sign. So instead of being less than or equal to, we have to flip it, and it's going to be greater than or equal to. So our final answer there is n is greater than or equal to negative 3. All right, number 17, we're into some word problems here. 7 less than 2 times the number is less than 5 more than 4 times the number. Write an inequality to represent this information. Notice this just says write an inequality. We don't have to solve this one, we just have to write it. It doesn't say write and solve, just write. So I'm going to circle my key numbers. 7, even though it's written as a word, you got that as a number, is less than 2 times the number, is less than 5 more than 4 times the number. Now, remember, whenever it says a number, that's where we have our variable. So in this problem, I'm going to use x as my variable. So x is my mystery number. And it actually says it twice. Here it says the number. It's referring back to that same one. So there's all our important numbers or variables. Now, 7 less than. This less than means minus. It's one of our turnaround words, meaning it comes at the end. So 7 less than means we're going to have something minus 7. So 7 less than 2 times. Times means multiply. So 2 times a number. So that means 2 times x. 7 less than that. So I have 2 times x minus 7. Now, this one's a little tricky. Because it says is less than, that's telling us that's where we're going to have our sign. Is less than. So here is our less than sign. 5 more than. Okay, so we have more than. More than is also one of our turnaround words. So more than means we're adding, but it also comes at the end. So 5 more than, that means I'm going to have plus 5. 5 more than 4 times the number. Again, times means that we are going to multiply. That means multiply. 4 times the number, so 4 times x. And 5 is less than that, 5 more than that, so that 5 comes at the end. So here's our full inequality for our answer to this problem. 2 times x minus 7 is less than 4x plus 5. And that's all we have to do for that one, is just write our inequality. All right, number 18. Melissa has grades of 77, 95, and 81, but she also has a project to turn in. All 4 grades count equally. Write an inequality that could be used to determine the lowest grade x she can make on the project to have an average of at least 82. Okay, now if we notice, our problem just says, again, write an inequality. We're not having to solve. And it also tells us the lowest grade is X. So X, okay, and this is going to be on her project. So X is her project grade. Now, some important words here. It says she wants her average to be at least. Okay, at least means she wants it to be 82 or more. So that's kind of telling us that we're going to be using our greater than or equal to. So if I write this out, she wants her grade in class, we're comparing it to 82, she wants her grade to be more than or equal to 82. Now to find her grade, it says we are taking an average. To average, we're going to add the numbers together and divide by how many there are. So she's averaging these 3 grades that she already has and this mystery project. So we're going to start out, we're going to add these together, 77, 95, 81, plus this project grade. So to find the average, we add them together and we divide by how many there are. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 grades here. And again, we said we want her grade to be at least, so greater than or equal to 82. And that's it for that problem. We don't have to go any further because it did tell us to just write the inequality. All right, number 19 here. We're being asked to solve for K. This is our simplest problem on this test, or on this review sheet, the practice test. It's a one-step equation here. I have K minus 23 equals 69. So I have to get K alone. The opposite of minus 23 is plus 23. So I'm going to start by adding 23 to both sides. Now on the left, negative 23 plus 23 gives us 0. So we're just left with K. On the right, I have 69 plus 23. 9 plus 3 is 12, carry 1. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus the 1 gives us 9. K equals 92. All right, our next one. A local talent is selling underground CDs to get his rap career off the ground. Each crate contains 60 blank CDs, and each crate costs $35. We want to know how much he's going to sell each CD for in order to make a profit. So profit, first of all, that's the money that you keep. It's the money you get. So the money he gets of 85. So let's start. We want to know how much he'll sell each CD for. So we're going to let X be the cost per CD. Now, he needs to make some money here. His total money. He's got to make $85 in order to keep that $85. But he also has to buy the CDs, the crate of CDs. So he also has to make $35 in order to pay that. So total here, if we add these together, that's going to give us 120. That's the amount of money he needs to make in order to be able to keep $85 for himself. So that's his total amount of money. Now, he's got to sell some CDs. He has 60 CDs, and he's got to sell them all to make this money. So we need to write an equation that we can solve. So 60 CDs times X dollars per CD is going to give us his total amount of money he needs to make, which is $120. So now, in order to figure out how much he needs to sell each CD for, we're going to solve this equation. I have 60 times X equals 120. The opposite of multiplying by 60 here is dividing by 60. So 60 divided by 60 gives us just 1 X. And 120 divided by 60 is going to give us 2. So X equals 2. But remember, we need to think about what that answer actually means. So he will need to sell each CD for $2. So he... And that's in order for him to make sure that he gets to keep $85. He pays back, he buys the crate of CDs for $35, and he gets to keep 85. That's his profit. All right, now number 21. The student council is planning a homecoming dance. The DJ charges $700 and the food costs $7 per student. So that's how much the student council is having to pay. They're paying $900 and then they're also having to pay $7 a student to feed them. The students have decided to set the tickets for the dance at $10 per student. How many tickets will they have to sell to break even? All right, there's our question. Now, we've talked about break even before. Break even is when basically the money that you spend equals the money that you make. So at that point, you're not making any money, really. You've paid back everything, and you're not really getting to keep any money yet. You kind of are at zero. So let's look at what they are spending. They're spending $900 first of all. Just straight up $900. And then there's having to spend $7 per student. Okay, so X, we need to find our variable. X is going to be the number of, well, we need to find the number of tickets. And kind of right along those lines, the number of tickets is also the number of students. Okay, because each student is going to have a ticket to go to this dance. So they're also spending more money. They're having to pay $7 for every student. So $7 times the number of students. And this is going to give us the amount they're making on the other side. On the other side, they're getting money for every student that gets a ticket. So the tickets are $10 per student. So $10 times the number of students. So now in order to find out that break-even point, how many they're going to have to sell to break even, we're going to solve. Our first step, we need to move our variables. I'm going to look for the one with the smallest coefficient, and that's going to be a 7x. It's got the smaller number in front. The opposite of plus 7x is minus 7x. So I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides. 7x minus 7x gives us 0. So we're left with 900 on the left. And on the right, 10x minus 7x is 3x. So on the right, I have 3 times x. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And I'm going to move and write my answer over here. On the right, 3 divided by 3 will give us 1, or just x. On the left, 900 divided by 3 is going to give us 300. So our answer, we have 300 equals x. But really, they will have to sell 300 tickets. All right, so that's really what that answer means. They're going to have to sell 300 tickets. Next problem, number 22. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 57. What is the middle integer? We haven't done a middle one before. We've been asked smallest and largest. Middle is a little new. Now, this is talking about consecutive integers. Consecutive integers are going to be numbers in a row. And integers just means they're positive or negative whole numbers, no decimals or fractions here. So notice this doesn't have the words even or odd in it. It's just consecutive integers, numbers in a row. So I could have 3 numbers in a row, like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to use 1, 2, 3 to help me set this up. Those are 3 consecutive integers. They obviously don't have a sum of 57 because a sum means that they add to 57. And is, remember, that's our clue for that's equals. So our sum is equal to 57. So if our first number is x, then in order to get from 1 to 2, or x, to the next one, we have to add 1. In order to get from 1 to 3, we're going to have to add 2. So those are our variables that we're going to use for setting up this problem. Now it does tell us that the sum of these is 57. So we're going to take x, x plus 1, and x plus 2, and we're going to add those all together. The sum is 57. So this gives us an equation to solve here. Our first step to solving this equation is going to be to combine our like terms. I have x plus x plus x. And remember, if that x doesn't have a number in front, it's a 1x. So 1x plus 1x plus 1x will give us 3x. Then I also have like terms of 1 and 2. 1 plus 2 gives us 3. So here's our equation, a little bit prettier and easier to solve. I'm going to move over here so I have a little more room. Whoops. Plus 3 equals 57. I'm just going to cross that out and rewrite it. 3x plus 3 equals 57. Okay. So in order to solve this equation, I'm going to start by doing the opposite of adding 3, and I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. 3 minus 3 gives us 0. So on the left I have 3x. On the right, I have 57 minus 3, which gives me 54. Now, I'm going to divide both sides by 3, because that's the opposite of multiplying. 3 divided by 3 gives us 1, or 1x. And 54 divided by 3 gives us 18. So if we go back and look at this, our first number was x. That means our first number in the pattern is 18. Then x plus 1, 18 plus 1, would give us 19. X plus 2, 18 plus 2, would give us 20. And we can go back and check and make sure that these numbers have a sum of 57 by adding them together. So 18 plus 19 plus 20 is 57, and they are numbers that are consecutive. They are in a row. So the question asks, which is the middle integer? Well, 19 is our middle number. It is right in between 18 and 20. So 19 would be our final answer. All right, number 23. We have an inequality to solve here. So this one has a fraction. When the whole thing is a fraction, we have to start by getting rid of the fraction. In order to do that, I need to look at my denominator. This problem says divided by 4. The opposite of dividing by 4 is multiplying by 4. So I'm going to start by multiplying both sides by 4. On the left, multiplying and dividing by 4 cancel out. They just give us 1. So I'm left with 3x plus 11. I need to make sure I bring down my sign every time this is less than or equal to. And then 8 times 4 is 32. So in order to keep solving, I'm going to do opposite of plus 11, which is minus 11. And I'm subtracting 11 from both sides. 11 minus 11 gives us 0. So on the left, I have 3x. On the right, 32 minus 11. Well, 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3x is less than or equal to 21. In order to solve, I need to now divide both sides by 3. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. 3 divided by 3 gives us 1. And 27 divided by 3 gives us 7. And this one, I just keep my sign just as it is. I get x is less than or equal 7. In number 24, I'm being asked to solve and graph. And if we look at this compound inequality, it is set up as one of our AND problems because it's written as one big problem. So we're going to solve this. I'm going to write it again over here. X is less than or equal to x plus 2, which is less than or equal to 12. Now remember, in our AND problems, our compound inequalities, whatever we do to one part, we have to do to the other. So in this one, there are 3 parts. In order to get x alone, I have to do the opposite of plus 2. The opposite of plus 2 is minus 2. And I have to do it to all 3 parts here. So on the left, 8 minus 2 is 6. 2 minus 2 in the middle gives us 0, so we're just left with x. And 12 minus 2 is 10. If we look at the answer and it's written out like this, small number on the left, large number on the right, x is somewhere in between. So here, first of all, we didn't talk about any that had dots on the ends. We had an arrow and a dot. Okay? Our AND problems are going to typically go toward each other unless there's some weird scenario. But this one, there's not. X is between 6 and 10. So B is going 2 different directions, as is D. C has x being between 10 and 14. A is looking at 6 and 10, and that equal to part tells us we're going to have our closed circles because those numbers are a part of the solution. They are included. So our correct answer for that one would be A. All right, 2 more problems. So number 25, we have an OR problem. What are the solutions of the compound inequality? Whenever we have an OR problem, it's just 2 separate problems that we have to do. So in this problem, let's start with the problem on the left. 2y minus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 1. I'm going to start by solving by adding 3 to both sides. Negative 3 plus 3 gives us 0. So I'm left with 2y is greater than or equal to negative 1 plus 3, which gives us 2. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And here I'm left with y is greater than or equal to 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Then I'm going to go and solve my other one. Draw my line down the middle. In this one, I got to start with this 2. That's a positive 2. Okay, so the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. 2 minus 2 gives us 0. Now we got to be careful. This minus here is with the y. That's a negative y. And so then I have 4 minus 2, which is 2. Now whenever I have a negative y, that's really a negative 1y. So the opposite there of multiplying by negative 1 is dividing by negative 1. So I need to divide both sides here by negative 1. And remember, whenever we divide by a negative or multiply by 1, we need to flip our sign. So we get y, instead of greater than, now it's less than, 2 divided by negative 1 gives us negative 2. And since this was an OR problem at the beginning, we need an OR with our answer. So our final answer is y is greater than or equal to 1, or y is less than negative 2. All right, number 26, we have a compound inequality. And if you look at it, this is an AND problem because it's all written as one big inequality. So remember, whatever we do to one part, we're going to have to do to the other. So we're going to start with looking at the middle. We have this positive 2. I have to subtract 2 from every part of this inequality. So in the middle, 2 minus 2 is 0. On the left, 5 minus 2 is 3. So I'm bringing down my less than, bringing down my 3y. Again, bringing down less than. 14 minus 2 is 12. So now, in order to solve, this is 3 times y. The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. And so I'm going to have to divide all 3 parts by 3. 3 divided by 3 just gives us 1. 3y divided by 3 just gives us y. And 12 divided by 3 gives us 4. So this is how you would see your answer to that compound inequality look. 1 is less than y, which is less than 4. So that's it. That's all the problems from your practice test. Hopefully this has helped, and I hope to see everyone do really well on the actual Unit 2 test. Good luck!